The Bible talks about a widow who put 2 mites into the treasury of the temple. Now a mite was a lepton. A lepton was a very small coin of really insignificant value. It was worth probably about 4 minutes of a day's wage. So it doesn't have a lot of buying power. It's like 2 pennies really. And this woman, she's a widow, so she is dependent upon God. And she's poor. She puts in these 2 pennies. Now we can imagine how difficult that would have been for her because this was a public offering. Many people were putting great offerings, great amounts of money into the treasury. And Jesus condemned people who gave as a matter of show. And Jesus said the Pharisees, for example, love to make a show of their religion. But by contrast, we can see how difficult it would have been for this widow, because how humiliating, standing in line with all the other people who are giving extravagantly, all she can afford is to put 2 small coins into the treasury. And she runs the risk of people misjudging her, looking down upon her because they despise her offering. And yet Jesus is watching. And Jesus comments on this widow and he says, I tell you, she has put more into the treasury than all the others put together, because they've given out of their abundance, but she's given out of her lack. And so Jesus points up this extravagant giving. It really illustrates a lifestyle of offering. When we offer to God all that we have, God does not measure the value of our offering the way that the world does. The world measures things according to external appearance, but God is measuring by the heart. We see then that Jesus measures success and human accomplishment much differently than humans do. We tend to judge things by external standards. We judge success by what appears to be success, but God measures success as faithfulness. Here, this widow woman was faithful. She gave extravagantly, but she didn't have the ability to pull it off looking good. And this is really this place of hiddenness where God Himself becomes our reward. She couldn't have the reward of looking good in offering much, but God knew her heart. God recognized her extravagant giving. So we see that God's standard is much different than ours. By the same token, we see that Jesus also measures the value of life differently than people do. Sometimes we don't understand how to value our own lives, how precious we are to God. And Jesus, for example, in Luke 12 says, 5 sparrows in that day were sold for 2 copper coins. A copper coin was an assarion. It's a Greek coin, also a very small value. And we think 5 dead sparrows for 2 copper coins. It doesn't seem like a lot. A dead sparrow seems really insignificant. It's just worth 2 pennies. And yet Jesus says those sparrows have such value to God, they're precious to God. And He says, if the sparrow is precious to God, not a sparrow can fall to the ground without your Heavenly Father's noticing. He says, if God cares about the sparrows, how much more valuable are you and I? And He goes on to say that the hairs of our head are numbered. I've never counted the hairs on my head. You probably haven't either. But God has. He's numbered them. He's cataloged them. He knows every detail of our lives. This really goes against the evolutionary concept of life as chaotic chance. We are lovingly designed by a loving Creator. And this means that God has given to human beings infinite value. We are precious to God. He holds our very life in His hands. If the hairs on your head are numbered, if God cares about the external details of your physical life, how much more the nuances of the human soul? God knows you and I inside and out. He knows us better than we know ourselves. We need to understand that then as we offer our life to God, whether it is recognized or not, God always recognizes when we offer ourselves to Him extravagantly.